الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد, respected audience, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. We are in the early stages of the month of Shawwal, and rightfully speaking, the Hajj season has set in. Being this, I'm tempted to speak on the institution of Hajj. But emanating from the month of Ramadan, I consider it a threshold. In this sense, our accomplishments in the month of Ramadan has to be taken forward in the remaining portion of the year, and of course to position us in life to take our rightful place in history, and of course to be successful in the akhir. And as far as that is concerned, Ramadan is a month, of course, towards the latter part of Ramadan, as we approach that and we celebrate the day of Eid al-Fitr. Remember, we commemorate another anniversary of the revelation of the Holy Quran. And as far as this is concerned, when you look at the Quran, many people perceive the Quran to be far beyond our understanding, especially when you look at a classical person saying that you need to have 16 branches of knowledge to understand the Quran. So immediately such statements is a put off to the common man. And then more especially when you speak of the lofty status of the Sahaba, when you look at the Quran itself, and the Quran states, "Radiyallahu anhu wa radu an," that Allah is pleased with them and they are most pleased with Almighty Allah Azza wa Jalla. So again, people feel, this Holy Quran, in essence, as far as its spirit is concerned, is far beyond us. Do you feel this or not at times? No, please, let's have a dialogue. This is not the normal type of mosque where you stand forward and you deliver a speech and you clap your hands and bang your fists on whatever you can. Let's just have this dialogue. Don't you feel that sometimes the Holy Quran is far beyond us? Now when people speak about the 16 branches of knowledge, etc., this becomes even more difficult for you to understand. How can we peak as far as our attachment to the Holy Quran is concerned? Today I'm going to invite you, I'm going to discuss some salient issues with regard to the Holy Quran, but I'm going to invite you to Surah Al-Baqarah, from the second chapter of the Quran, verses 1 to verse 5. How many of you know it? Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنْزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنْزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. You know these verses, so go home and look this, check it out. And when you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, of course, Imam Jalaluddin Muhaddis Mujaddid As-Suyuti Ash-Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says that there are approximately 500 verses of ahkam. And when you look at Surah Al-Baqarah, which is a Medina verse, most of it was revealed in the first 2 years of the Prophet ﷺ's stay and interaction with his community in Madinatul Munawwara, where the rules and regulations, a great number of rules and regulations is found in Surah Al-Baqarah. But look at how Surah Al-Baqarah starts. Alif Lam Mim. Lots of people tried their luck. Alif is Allah and Lam and Mim, and then the latest one, Allah Love Maimon, and things of that nature. But really speaking, only Allah alone knows what it means. But when you look towards the latter part, you would find how Allah interacts with the Prophet of Allah, and through him He wants us to also interact with the Holy Quran And remember, all what I'm saying now is for you to understand that you come from a position, we clocked another anniversary of the Holy Quran as far as its initiation is concerned of revelation, and the Quran is very difficult for us to understand. The Quran is very difficult for us to actually live. It's something antiquity. Alif Lam Mim, huruf muqatta'at, Allah alone knows best. But you can see, you get hints that this is something which is between the Holy Prophet and Allah. And of course, through that, it means the start of it is an indication that you need to interact with Almighty Allah as the Prophet ﷺ also interacted with Almighty Allah. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is a book in which there is no doubt. So the first thing is, Allah is enforcing the fact that this is a book which beyond doubt. There's no doubt in it. Right? هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, for those who cultivate taqwa. Now, really speaking, it is a book of guidance without doubt for. Now here the Quran gives you for whom it is guidance without doubt. Have you fasted in the month of Ramadan? Yes or no? What many people say, man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban ghufir lahu ma taqaddama min zanbihi, and all the other ahadith, etc. But Quran itself explicitly gives you the maqsad, the purpose for fasting. What is fasting all about? The main reward, according to Quran, and all the ahadith stand wherever they stand because of this verse, لَأَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may practice or you may develop within you God consciousness. لَأَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So this is a book in which it contains guidance without doubt for those who have cultivated taqwa. Have you fasted? Any one of you? All of you? Some of you? Portion of Ramadan? All of Ramadan? So we have fasted in the month of Ramadan. So what was the purpose? How many of you broke your fast? Quarter way per day? Full way? Full way. You fasted the whole month of Ramadan. You fasted every day. So with each fast, if you have fasted, what was your achievement? You practiced taqwa. So this book is for those persons who cultivate taqwa. So now hold on. Initially we realized, you said that this book, I'm right in the interaction between us, that this book is antiquity. This book is for those people who are superhuman, the Sahaba. So this book we cannot relate to. We cannot relate to. We cannot get maximum. But the first point out of the 7 points for whom it is guidance or categories is for those who has cultivated taqwa. So we ascertain that we have cultivated taqwa of a type, and we have to maintain, develop it, and sustain that taqwa. Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Linked to the institution of taqwa is the concept of ghaib. These Quranic students would be more beneficial for me rather than I'm speaking to them. Well, how would you define ghaib? Simply speaking, those things which are beyond your sensations, your perceptions. Correct? Allah Himself. But really speaking, as you heighten, you will realize that every part of the Holy Quran is a mu'jizah. Like when I was in ITV, I placed a recording of Allama Asad, who was previously Leopold Weiss. For years, and sometimes I used to do the dangerous thing, not to completely look at things. So we have been warned that Allama Asad alayhi rahmah was one who denied miracles. So up to that moment in time, when I'm watching on one fine morning, I had the understanding that Allama Asad denied miracles. A great scholar, no doubt, a great linguist of Quran and Arabic as well. So nevertheless, in this interview, he was posed a question by the interviewer, Allama Asad, it is said that you deny miracles. And there he said, hold on, can you define a miracle? And by the way, she learned a thing and more. I, for one, learned much. When he basically explained what he perceives to be a miracle. Now, basically, what we perceive to be a miracle is something that is glaring before us, and it is above the normal, but it is something which is positive. That is a miracle for us, am I right? You see a person flying in the sky, things of that nature. That is what we perceive to be a miracle. So Allama Asad gave the answer. He says, everything in the universe, the cosmos, my body, the anatomy of the human form is to me a miracle. So he gave another dimension to the concept of miracle. And when you look at all that he defined to be perceived to be a miracle, it all alludes to something above the natural, which means that he believed he was projecting the concept of ghaib to a point where everything related to Almighty Allah, and we believe in وَالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِ شَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ, that every power of action, the power of action proceeds from Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. So what a noble understanding of the concept of miracle. And of course, beyond that, the splitting of the sea and so on is a miracle above a miracle above a miracle. But you understand? So believing in the unseen is not something which cannot be fathomed. As you develop and as you go to the Holy Quran, you realize that these things are realizable. This is perceivable. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, and those persons who basically establish salah. So in the month of Ramadan, of course, the joke that goes around, people are missing for Fajr and all that stories. So haven't we been in the masjid? Haven't you performed Taraweeh? Haven't you been involved in extra nafil, etc.? So, in other words, you have a third category. So now tell me, the Quran is not realizable. It is not approachable. You cannot heighten as far as... And of course, in the month of Ramadan, people were extremely virtuous. They were very charitable. For those of you who are coming in now, we are discussing, we are at the threshold. People say that Holy Quran is very difficult to understand, especially classical thinkers who say that you have to have 16 branches of knowledge. Of course, for specialization, we're not denying them absolutely. There's areas of specialization. I mean, if you go to our friend here who's a CA, of course he knows, and even Brother Akhtar, there are certain areas of specialization. But generally, anyone can relate when you go to them because they will make it easy. So there are certain areas of specialization in any field, like that in the Quran, but generally the Quran is Hudal Linnas. So 16 branches of knowledge, when you hear of this, makes it difficult. So people say, but it is good for the Sahaba because they were people who were robust, etc. How can we relate to the Holy Quran? How can we derive benefits? So we're discussing Alif Lam Mim. In Alif Lam Mim of Surah Al-Baqarah, from verse 1 to verse 5, there are 7 qualities for those persons who are to gain benefit from the Holy Quran, who are to gain guidance from the Holy Quran, and who will achieve success. So we are on the point that those who spend in the path of Almighty Allah, from what Allah has actually given them, they spend. Now this is not only confined to monetary. Like for example, the Imam who stands up and he gives his best, he makes research, or anyone for that matter, if he smiles, if a person is sad, this is giving from what Allah has provided. This is considered to be charity. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنْزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنْزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. And for those persons, and of course, who believes in the guidance sent to thee and the guidance that came before. So immediately you believe in the concept of the evolution of religion and religious thought. This is very important because the Quran just didn't surface. That is why we believe in the concept of divinely instituted messengers. We believe in the concept of the evolution of religion and religious thought. This Quran that came to us as a matter of it being tested by previous generations, and it was perfected under the guidance of the Holy Prophet Muhammad and exhibited by his companions. Now, which means that the metric syllabus is realizable. Why? Because the child has passed to class 1, there was gradual gradation. This is important. The Quran is realizable. And as far as that is concerned, of course, go and check this up. There are a few points that I need to mention as far as the Quran is concerned. And here I'm going to bring a thesis of the great Allama Shah Muhammad Abdul Alim Siddiqui, who mentioned that an action by itself can never be perceived to be good or bad at the outset. It can only be said to be good on the basis of the outcome. So anything that you are going to act upon, how do you know what is the outcome? So in other words, am I going to eat this fruit? Is it going to be good or bad? And you don't know whether it is poisonous or not. So if the outcome is good, then the action is going to be good. So what if it is poisonous? So you may not live to see the outcome. So guidance can only be given by that force or that being that possesses comprehensive knowledge. Knowledge of the past, the present and the future. So that is why when you look at the Quran, whilst people marvel at the miracle of the Holy Quran, if a scientist picks up the Quran today, he'll pick up what the Sahaba didn't pick up before. But primarily the Quran is a book on guidance, and whatever field you are in, because the Quran comes as guidance from that being that possesses comprehensive knowledge of the past, the present and the future, so you will find more and more that marvel. This is one of the miracles of the Holy Quran itself. Of course, the miracle upon the miracle. Remember what Allama Asad said. You follow? So, an action by itself can only be said to be good on the basis of the outcome. If the outcome is good, the action is good. If the outcome is bad, so we need to follow guidance from that being who possesses comprehensive knowledge. And inshallah, we have reached a point in time so which signals closure. But please go home and look at this verse. Also very important as far as da'wah is concerned. From my experience, sitting with friends who have like accountants and so on, professionals with them, I've realized that when you speak about prophets that came before and how we Muslims relate to them, they become fascinated. So that is why I produced this prophets of Allah, and you can see whatever you see, those prophets who are common to the Quran and the Bible. So immediately this does the job. But more than that, I'm going to read this. It is important, it is interesting. Those of you who have points which are frequented by non-Muslims, please you can speak to Riyaz and we'll arrange for more copies to be sent to you. This alone gives you an indication of where Islam stands, because Islam didn't emerge. Islam means to submit to the will of God or the law of nature. The Arabic term Islam means peace and submission. In context, it denotes submission to the will of God, the law of nature. Submit to the Holy Quran, which contains the will of God or the natural law, is primarily directed towards mankind's duties and obligations towards God, oneself, blah, 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 blah. So you can see all these things. These are very, very important. And in this way, you will understand Islam and you will be able to project Islam, because we are to invite humanity towards Islam. Prophethood in Islam is not merely confined to prophecy. Divinely instituted messengers, prophets of God, are selected men chosen by God to communicate His prescribed will to human beings for the actualization of the full human potential. And it goes on, and very important. It is clear that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as the final messenger of God, is a significant link in the chain of prophethood. Similarly, the Holy Quran, which is guidance unto mankind, is the concentrated and evolved message of all divine scriptures that preceded it. So here we're not doing the Ahmad Didat thing. We are just giving you how the Quran progressed, etc. Now, what I mentioned earlier on, remember, for guidance to those who believe, is guidance for those who believe in the revelation sent to thee and to those that came before thee. So when you look at what I discussed, these are the 7 most repeated concepts throughout the Holy Quran, besides being guidance And once you look at this, you realize that you are on that threshold where the Holy Quran will be available for you. Remember, guidance is not very difficult, it is very easy. The Quran is realizable, and congratulations for fasting in the month of Ramadan. And remember, you have reached a peak. So it's only for you to maintain that. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.